Hey Cajun family, and welcome back. Before we get started with today's video on all the things cabinets, all the things new wall oven, y'all requested for us to count the rings that are in these cypress. If y'all missed last episode, we went back in the swamp. We found a piece of cypress that was from the turn of the century. They actually consider these a historical treasure because they are so old. So there's actually no telling how old this tree really is. I'm gonna be able to count these rings, but it could have been underneath the river for 100 years at least. So I'm gonna count these, say real quick. I'll make it look quick for y'all so that way we can know exactly what the age is on these. We can get them moved off of the sawhorses, which we are gonna be using today, and then we can start rolling with these cabinets. This little tiny Phillips screwdriver is gonna be my ring counting cypress hootis. Sounds about right. Jim left to go see what he could find on wall ovens. I left him in charge of that. It was either pick out a wall oven or count these rings. I probably would have picked the wall oven too.
So if y'all remember, several episodes ago, we got started building the cabinets in our kitchen. We got that one section built with all the drawers. Now we need to continue on, and we need to move towards the refrigerator to get that section built. But in order to do that, we have to have a wall oven. Now we thought we had this wall oven thing taken care of. So we did put an order in for one, and it was on back order. No big deal, we wasn't in a hurry for it anyway. And it was a really special size based off what we wanted with the space that we have. We're trying to make all the space count. It's not huge, not small, it was right in between. Well, apparently, the people that manufacture this particular wall oven, they must have lost all their tape measures, because for some reason, this particular size is just like finding a 4-leaf clover in the desert. It just ain't happening. So we're gonna have to pivot from there. We did get online, we looked at some different dimensions, different sizes, and we think that we're gonna be able to find one that's going to fit. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm out here in town, gonna hit these stores, one of my least favorite things to do. I am not a city guy, but it's gotta be done. I'm gonna be on the hunt. Lydia's back home, working on some things, trying to get organized for what we're doing. Hey, y'all bear with me, because I'm gonna be picking this thing out for both of us, and she's not here. And Lydia says,
"Oh, it's okay. I trust you. You can pick one out that we're both like."
for all the men out there that are watching this with me, you know I'm in a no-win situation. But I'm gonna do the very best I can. I'm gonna bring y'all along. So let's see what we can find. Well, okay. It was a total swing and miss at the Home Depot. They had a total of 5 wall ovens to choose from, and they had none in stock. All of them had to be ordered. I'm sure most of you knew this. I didn't. So once again, I'm empty-handed. But I did get a new miter saw. It is exactly what we need and have been needing for a long time. If y'all remember, we used that old miter saw that we had. Now, we cut every stud for our whole entire house with that miter saw. It's just a little cheap 10-inch miter saw, and it has been phenomenal. But it's starting to get some slack in it, and I don't want to be cutting this trim and accidentally cut an 1/8 off too much or something just because the blade had some wobble in it. So we bit the bullet, spent a little money. I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for this. Fairly certain I'm not going to get in trouble for this, because we have talked about buying one of these. And we have not spent a lot of money on tools for this whole house build project. So I think it's probably well overdue. We could have probably saved a ton of time if we would have had a saw like this before. So I think it's going to be a welcome guest in our little collection of tools. So we're going to go find another store to go in, see if we can find a wall oven. I'm going to drive over there and I'll pick y'all back up then. All right, y'all, we got this oven figured out, and Miss Eva was nice enough to help me through the whole process. And I don't know what cons is paying her, but it is not enough money, I can tell you that. Y'all hop on here and help me out, and thank Miss Eva for helping us through this thing.
Okay, so before I release this number of what I counted, now y'all keep in mind that it's probably more than this, because the center of this has been hollowed out a little bit, and that's just damage from over the years, so we actually can't get all the way to the center, so it's got to be over this number. But before I tell you what I counted, I want y'all to go to the comments, pause the video, and comment what you think it was.
3, 2, 1.
I counted 243 rings. That means that this was over 243 years old whenever it got cut down in the probably 1900s. So truthfully, this is a historical treasure and it is so neat that it is gonna be part of our house. We are gonna end up going back there and making some more projects out of the rest of the cypress. It's only been a day or two since we got this cut, and it's actually crazy how much the water levels have come up even since then because they got a lot of rain north of us, which means that the river is gonna flood, and even though we haven't got as much rain here, it still is gonna cause everything to rise. But hopefully it does not cause enough rain to come in and wash that cypress out. But we'll see when we get back there and cut some more. I did learn from y'all in the comments that this is not considered a slab, this is considered a cookie. I like that a lot better anyway. We went and cut some cookies. Went back in the woods and made some cookies. However you want to look at it. All right, y'all, let's get these moved so whenever Jim gets home, we can start working. Oh, okay. Okay. Actually, we'll just wait for Jim to get home and we'll move him. Sound good?
So we're back at it this morning, gonna get back on these cabinets and try to get some of this stuff knocked out. Now, if you have come here to get all the questions answered for your cabinet building needs, you probably come to the wrong place. Definitely come to the wrong place. Now, what you can do is watch everything that we do and do exactly the opposite, and you're probably gonna get pretty close.
Okay. Now he's not giving himself enough credit because truthfully, from the last cabinets that we built that were the drawers for the kitchen to this set, you have learned so much and gotten so good at this.
I wouldn't go that far. It's really neat though, the things that you learn. When you're just not scared, you slap fear in the face and just do it. You know, when you put your hands on it and you see the reaction that you get from just taking the measurements, putting the things together, you're gonna make mistakes. Every time I build something, we make mistakes. Sometimes we can live with it. Sometimes we gotta chunk it and start over, but you learn so much. Whenever we started on this section of cabinets, I really wanted to do some of this, I don't know what you call it. You're cutting grooves, you're using a dado blade on a table saw or so forth and so on to cut grooves. Reality is I am awful using a table saw. So if I had a whole collection of dado blades, I would have to have shelves that look like snakes to fit in there, and I know that. So what we opted for was to get a router bit and measure and set the fence and just run the router across it to cut our groove. Now, I'm not sure what you call that groove. If it's a dado groove, maybe we have a router groove. I don't know what we have, but we have a groove. And now being able to do that, we should be able to glue and screw our shelves in place, and they'll fit together like a puzzle piece, and they should be extremely strong. And that's something that was really important to us because this section of cabinet is going to be really wide.
And this is how the rest of our night played out. So Jim went ahead and started working on these cabinets as y'all saw, and Lad decided to go ahead and start washing all the dishes while I was still cooking. So whenever Jim got done from being outside, he came inside, we went ahead and ate and went ahead and got some rest because we knew that today we were gonna have a long build ahead of us. We did get our oven in, which had a kind of a surprise on the inside, so I can't wait to show y'all that. I personally have never seen this before, and y'all probably might have, but it was just crazy to me. I like it, but a little different. But I would say overall you did a really good job.
Well, thanks. Hey, I knocked one out of the park. Knocked it out of the park or just did okay?
I think you knocked it out of the park.
Perfect. The people at the store gave me the exact dimensions for this unit to start building these shelves and stuff while we waited for it to be delivered. And the measurements was actually right. So I really don't have an excuse. If we put this thing in, it don't fit now. It's all because I'm not smart enough to read the tape measure, I suppose.
While we're talking about a tape measure real quick, this is a really good DIY hack for anybody who's building anything. Use the same tape measure every time. Jim prefers to use this pink Lufkin one. I don't know if it's because it's easier to find or what the case is. Probably because it was mine. It was gifted to me. But that is something that if y'all are doing a little project that has such tiny little details that matter, make sure to keep using the same tape measure. That's just your bonus fact for the week.
She is exactly right. When we first started building this house, we really didn't know that. We thought a tape measure was a tape measure, and they all did the same thing. Pull two side by side, and it's rare to find two that are identical.
And we might have gone through a lot of them because somebody
shot holes through them with a nail gun.
Okay, that happened one time.
Chop the tape measure with the chop saw.
Okay, that also happened only one time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Miter saw.
One time, like I said. You know what?
All right, we better get started. It is extremely odd. I mean, it's like finding chicken's teeth for me to get a deal anywhere. This is 3/4 inch cabinet grade plywood, and one of the workers in the store stopped by to help me load this up. This sheet of plywood had a busted spot in it, and we were gonna set it off to the side. So I asked him, I was like, hey, what do y'all do with this? He said, oh, we're gonna put that in the scrap bin, and we knocked like 70–75% off of that. It's only a couple of inches of this thing that's busted. So I asked him, I said, hey, can I have it? He said, well, sure. So he marked it, and I got this sheet of plywood for 70% off. So if you go to any of your big box stores and you need like almost a whole sheet of something, it would probably be worth asking, hey, what do y'all have in the scrap bin, and go check it out, because this was a huge saving.
Whenever it came time to design this kitchen, we did it about just like everything else. We waited till the last minute, we designed it, we got everything in that we wanted, and we just drew it out ourselves, just like these house plans. So if y'all remember, this is the section that we have done. The next section that we're gonna be working on, which is what we're currently working on, is this area that has the wall oven. And the last section that we'll be doing is above these drawers. So we don't have to worry about that right now. What we're working on right now is this 3-section cabinet. Jim got everything cut besides the top, one more shelf, and the back. So that's what we're gonna be working on today, and then we can put it all together. We're gonna go ahead and glue it and screw it and nail it and do all the things to it and get it put in place. Hopefully being able to get that wall oven put in today too. The wall oven was one of the reasons that we kind of put this kitchen cabinet build on hold. We had Googled like a normal size of a kitchen oven and a wall oven and a microwave and all these things, but we just really did not know what type of layout that we wanted. A lot of places would say, hey, this is what size this size is, and you'd go and it'd be out of stock. That happened to us time and time and time again, so we just decided to put it on hold till we got to that point. That is one of the perks of building your own house, is that you can build at any pace that you want to. So just like this, if we would have went ahead and built this or had it built, we would have either had to A, pick out a different wall oven, or B, ripped it out and done it over again. So we are so glad that we waited. All right, let's get to it, y'all.
So the shelf and the top, I was planning on using 3/4 material to build that out of. And the back, I was only gonna use 1/2 inch because it doesn't serve much of a purpose other than being a back. Way more inexpensive to use that 1/2 inch material than this 3/4 inch material.
Every change has a reason.
3-inch piece saved us 70%.
Every season lives outside of status quo. If we stop it,
Everything that we have left, I don't think that we have to dado or router or groove or whatever we decided to call it any more of these pieces. So everything is just pretty much straight cuts, which is just as easy to mess up. So we're still trying to take our time and be careful and get everything right. Because it ain't a good deal on this sheet if we mess it up, right?
Not at all.
We were gonna go ahead and cut the back piece that's gonna go across the whole thing, but then we realized we don't have to have a whole back. We just have to have a back for the top and the bottom drawer. For the area that's gonna be behind the oven, we don't wanna add a back there. We wanna be able to get back there if we wanna plug it in or take it out or who knows what. I'm gonna wait to cut those last 2 pieces until we get everything framed up and square exactly how we need it to be. So we decided to go ahead and bring everything in. Where Jim's leaned up right now is actually a rough put together idea of what the cabinet's gonna look like. Obviously it's gonna be stood up right here in this little gap, but the first thing that we need to do is actually screw it and nail it and what's the other word that we use? Glue it together. So we're gonna go ahead and set some of this 3/4 inch plywood on the ground. Our concrete slab is pretty level, but we're just gonna go ahead and do that just to make sure, and it'll be a good surface to work off of.
A couple things we ran into when we were building this cabinet that we really didn't think about. These sheets of plywood were 8 foot. We needed our cabinets to be taller than 8 foot. So we added on a section to the top to make it that height. Now having a seam there is really not going to matter because most of it is going to be covered up. But on this seam we made it super strong because we glued it and we used a Craig jig to countersink screws in all the way down. Now, remember earlier in the video whenever I said if you came here for all your cabinet making questions, you might want to do the opposite of what we do? Exhibit A. So I was using that guide that we have on the skill saw. I don't know if I temporarily lost my focus or what, but I kind of started curving away. So you can see this little bitty swan dive going downhill. So whenever we put the top section on, I allowed for that, and you can see where I had this mark. So it starts going downhill right here. So it's roughly about a 10-inch section here that's got a little gap. You won't be able to see it because of the way the back is going to tie into it. But Lord, I hate making these mistakes. Thank goodness we was able to put it in a position to where nobody's ever going to see it, including us. It's going to be hidden when the other cabinets tie into it, and it's going to be against the wall. I think that's one of the keys to our success to build this whole house is to be able to figure out where we want to put our mess ups and our mistakes to where nobody, including ourselves, will ever see them again.
We were just about to mark the opposite side, so right behind where all these drawers are going to be sitting as a center line. But instead, Jim said, why don't we just take the shelf out that we haven't screwed or glued or anything yet, and go ahead and take a really, really small drill bit and drill some holes in there. That way, whenever we use our little Craig countersink tool, we can already have those small little holes drilled and know exactly where to go ahead and put those countersink holes.
That's a mouthful.
I know, but it's right. It makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So I think by doing that, we're not going to make any mistakes, and it might be a little bit of extra work, but that way we don't have to go back and maybe try to fill some holes or have anything off. We want to try and make this perfect the first time, and I think that this is going to help doing that. Well,
A few thousandths of an inch out of square.
oh, you can't even tell that.
I don't think you'll be able to tell from the road anyway. Now we got the top piece. We're gonna glue it, put it just flat on the top and screw it together. We wasn't too concerned about countersinking the top end to where it fit on the inside because we're gonna put trim around the top. So you'd never see it if we spent hours and hours getting it perfectly square, everything mattered, and it would just be a waste of time. So structurally, we wanted it to be really, really strong, and that's what this is gonna give us.
Looks like a big rectangle. Just barely did this end up fitting in here. We knew that our ceilings were 9 foot whenever we started the house build. By the time you add the sheetrock and the lathing and all the things that pull that ceiling down a little bit, we got about an inch close to not being able to fit this sucker in here. So we got lucky this time, but in order to be able to level this thing, we're gonna have to pull the fridge out real quick and we're gonna go ahead and level it and get it ready so we can go and put this oven in. One thing, we got a lot of questions last time about how we didn't finish the wall behind here on our first cabinets, but honestly, we don't really need to have it finished there because everywhere that you can see the wall on this section of the house is gonna have either the backsplash or cabinets or whatever's gonna be there. Like this open space is gonna have the whole entire oven taking up that space, so we don't need to have it finished. This might be normal, but I just have never seen it. Bright blue. Did you know it would look like that whenever you bought it? You didn't look inside of it? So this is the oven part. This part's the microwave. The microwave is not blue, but it's in. Well, y'all make sure to like and subscribe, and we are gonna try to finish this up this week. We got a cabinet to build up here. We need to finish the doors. We need to finish the framing. We pretty much just need to finish this whole section. So, y'all make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. That way you do not miss out on the second part to this video, and we will see y'all then, Cajun family. Bye.